I see your issue and I know what you're talking about. I know you're talking about this little black line, okay? What I'm going to do is to show you when I turn off the clicky copy that your path isn't very good yet, okay? It's too squared off. It needs to be rounded. So we're not going to use this shape here or this shape here. We're going to redraw it and I'm going to show you how to fix this, okay? Let me turn this off and see what I have. Okay, I need to use that one. And I am going to see your layer mask on this one. I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to delete the layer mask because that's how it should look right there. Okay, that's how it should look. And you will understand in a few minutes when I start to build the correct shapes as they work their way to the home screen, to the inner screen. But let me turn on the clicky copy and get back to what I was talking about, which is your path. Now on this inner screen path, I need to see something. I need to see if you have two paths there or one. I noticed up here when I was trying to work on this path that it won't close. This path will not close. So I need to put this path back right there, and I want to see if I can take the pen and click in that point right there and now close the path right here, and it's not letting me close it. And the reason it's not letting me close it is because of that error that Photoshop has. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have to make a work path out of this again in order to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to either start over on the drawing, which probably would not take me as long, but I'm going to hold Control Alt and click on one point, and now they're all selected. If I hold Control Alt and click on the point, all the points are selected, and I can hit Control C or Command C. Now I can throw this inner screen away. Now, I don't want to be selected on a layer, and I don't want to be selected on a path, and I just want to hit Control V, okay? Because now you can see over here it says work path. For some reason, Photoshop lets a work path be closed. So I'm going to click in that last point. I'm holding the Control key. Now which means I can click on the line to see the points. And I'm going to join in that point and then go over here and close the path. And now it's totally closed. Look at the work path, it's fixed. But over here, I have to round it off. Now when you're drawing, get used to, and I should really start over on this to show you the proper way, but to edit this path, and I know this isn't your question, but this is a big part of Photoshop. So if I hit the P key, right, and hold the Alt key, I can go in the point and pull out two new handlebars. Did you see how I did that? Now I want to pull out two new handlebars right here. I want to pull out two new handlebars right here. And I want to go over here and make sure there are two new handlebars, which I have to flip around right here. Now, I'm going to flip back or switch to the Control key, and I'm going to move this point to the outer part of the black, which is where I want it in the first place. So let me click that point and move just that point. Now this one, now this one. And you can see how I'm really getting that nice roundness that it needs. Now let's go around the whole phone and make sure that it's defining the whole black area, which it is, except I need to come up to here. Okay, and now let's go all the way up to the top. Let's see if this is good. Yes, it is. You did good there. Really good there. Now, here you have the same issue. These 3 points need to be rounded. How do you do it? You hold Alt. You pull out two new handlebars, and sometimes you have to flip them around to get them in the right position. See, I got to flip that around like this. And then in a second, I am going to move the points. So all of these points, all the ones on the curve needed to have the Alt key held down and two new handlebars for each point. Now I'm going to flip back to the Control key or the Command key, and I'm going to move these points out to the edge of the black. Then I'm going to save your file, and I'm going to show you how the process, the way that you think of this. Look, I have to move, I hold the control key and move this one to the outer part of that. So I'm going to show you, and I think it's going to take only 2 shapes for you to really understand. I'm holding the control key and I'm moving that out here. I'm holding the control key. Remember, I'm in the pen tool, so I'm holding the control key and I'm moving that point to the outer part of the black, which I think I have it perfect now. Yes, I do. So I'm going to save your file. Now we are ready to go. Now I will call it, let's call this screen 1, just so I know I'm working my way through. Oops, and that's not how you spell screen. Sorry. Okay, hit the return key, Brian, and save the file. Now, watch how I do this. Okay, so I'm going to make 2 new layers. I'm going to keep, let's turn off the phone. I want to turn it back on and see something. Okay, this will work very well. So I'm going to make new layers here above here. Look, right there. So I'm going to call this screen 1. And I'm going to drag across it and go to screen 2. Then if I need it, I'll go to screen 3. Okay, let's just go that far. So I'm clicking on screen 1. See how easy? I'm sorry, I didn't mean easy. I just meant I'm selecting the screen 1 layer. I'm going to control click and make a selection of that. Now we know it's black, so I'm going to click and make sure it's all the way to the bottom right. I am now going to fill up, Alt backspace. There is your inner black line. Believe it or not, that is the little tiny inner black line. When I say in Photoshop, you paint through things, not around things, there is no reason that this can't be a large black shape. Now watch how I make the inner shape. And this should explain everything to you, okay? It really should. I need to see stuff. So we're going to have to, let me explain what I'm going to do. I am going to grab this darker gray here, right there, and I'm going to paint the whole thing solid, darker gray, and you're going to see. But how do I do it? So I zoom in and I make a selection by control clicking on this, screen 1. I go to select, modify, contract, and I make the selection smaller. Well, by how many pixels smaller? Well, let's try 2. 2 is about right. It could have been 3. It could have been 3. Let's try 3. So I control Z back. Let's go to modify, expand by 3 pixels. Whoops, that was the wrong one. Sorry. I went the other way. Contract, not expand. Sorry. Now, look what you do. Select and save selection as screen. Sorry. 2. Now look where it appears in channels. That means if I deselect, I can hold the control key or the command key and click on that icon, and there's my selection. Now I'm going to hit the B key. I'm going to hold Alt or Option and grab this darker gray right there. Now I want you to see what's going to happen. So I'm going to turn off the clicky copy. I'm going to make sure I'm selected on screen 2 and go Alt backspace. Now look at your line. Let me deselect. Look at the little tiny line. It's not a little line. It's a bigger gray shape on top of a bigger black shape. So there was no reason to not let this inside light gray. You did great by just letting it go all the way through the phone. Why stop it? Because you can go black and then gray. Now see how the phone is getting built. Now let's move to this one right here. This is kind of an interesting gray that we have here, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a way that I'm going to do this one, but first I want to do something here. See how this actually is a inner black line now? Now, I'm going to show you how I'm going to paint that, and then I'm going to use a layer mask to kind of get rid of some of the stuff, okay? And then we're going to go to another inner shape. Okay, let me look over here. Okay, so I make a selection of screen number 2, right? So there, I make a selection, sorry. Let me turn this off. Oh, I'm down here. Okay, sorry. I make a selection of this channel right there. Now I want to contract it so it goes way up to here. We'll call it screen 3. Okay, so I already have a screen 3 layer. So let's go to select, modify, contract by how many pixels? If this was 3, then it's 3, 6, 9, probably 9 pixels. And we should have done it a couple more. So let's just go select, modify, contract by 2 more. There. Now let's save it as screen 3. Now I have a channel named screen 3 and a layer named screen 3. So what do I paint here? Well, let's go B key for the paintbrush, hold Alt and grab this black again, make sure it's black. Okay, now turn off the clicky copy, Brian, and just Alt backspace. Now the neat part about this is, let me back off and show you. Now we have the inner screen, but this is way too hard, way too harsh, right? Way too harsh. You know what? I made a mistake. And it's not the first time. I painted on screen 2. I should have been painting on screen 3. So I'm going to Control Z back, go to screen 3. That's why I check my layers. I made a mistake. Alt backspace. Now this is what I wanted to show you. Look at it. Let's turn these off. Look at how you have a black shape with a big gray shape with a big black shape, but they get smaller as they move their way up the layer palette. Now let's turn on the clicky copy so I can show you that I think we need to blur this one. So let's go to just by a few pixels. So let me leave it about there. Let's make my brush smaller, or hit the V key or something. Click on this, make sure there's no selection, so I deselected, right? Filter, blur, Gaussian blur by, let's go just like, no, a little bit more, right there. Let's go 3.6 pixels. Now look at how pretty that is. Look at how nice it is. It's almost perfect right here. It's almost perfect on the bottom, right there. Okay, I probably should have only done 2 pixels. So I'm going to Control Z back, 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 and go again. Filter, blur, thank gosh for, I'm going to go 2 pixels. There, that's better. And I'll save the file. Now let's examine what we need to do. Now look at how part of that black is being removed. But I am going to do something here. I am going to take my pen, and I am going to draw this inner screen. I need to draw it. So this is a good thing for you to watch. Watch how I draw and pull. Every time I am in the pen tool around a curve, I pull in the direction of the curve. And let me explain that to you. Let me come all the way over to here. Now watch. I click and pull in the direction of that curve. Now look at here. I click and pull in the direction of that curve. I click and pull in the direction of that curve. Do you see how it automatically curves? Now let's go down here and click. Let me back off. Now watch how I can do this. This is kind of neat. Okay. I can hold the Control key and grab this point and just make it go all the way down here. Now, what we're going to do with that is we are going to work. Let me get close and let me finish my thing here. I'm going to draw it like this. Draw it like this. I need to close the shape, so I'm going to come around like this on the inside. See that? I'm pulling in the direction of that curve, pulling in the direction of that curve, and now I'm going to go up here and click and go over here and click. And I'm going to use this one to both paint on the layer mask and to paint on a screen number 4. Now let's figure out what we have to do here. Okay, so if I turn off the clicky copy, I have to remove some of this black that I have right here. How do you remove it? Okay, not so hard. screen 3, which is where I need to remove the black, right? Right? Let's look at it again. I need to remove or lessen this black right here. So I'll show you how I'm going to do it. Let me zoom in to about right there. I need to add a layer mask, a blank white layer mask. Now I make a selection of this work path. Let me call it screen 4. Okay. Now let me make a selection of it. Control click it. Now I don't want to paint on the inside. I want to paint on the outside. So I want to go to select inverse. Now I'm going to hit Control H so you can see something. You see how soft that edge is? I think that's about a 2 or 3 pixel feather. So let's hit Control H again so you see. I am going to go to select, modify feather by about 3 pixels. Now I'm going to hit Control H again so I can hide it. I'm going to take my paintbrush, make it large. I'm going to paint only at 8 on the flow, 8 on the flow. Right hand click and make sure you're all the way soft. Okay, that works. Hit the return key. Now turn off the clicky copy. Now, if I paint on the layer mask with black, please watch how that is going to get softer on that edge. And I probably needed to Gaussian blur that even more. But the neat part about it is I can blur it on the layer mask. Now let me go like this and turn it on. Okay, and now that's working. Let me move down here and turn it on. Okay, it's much darker on the bottom, and now I can start to back off on the big dark. Now what does that mean? Okay, let me just keep on painting on that layer mask. Now look at the layer mask. Look at how that black removed some of this black. Okay, I need for you to understand what I'm going to do next. I'm going to make the brush huge. Whoops, I made a mistake there. Okay, let me turn this off. Okay, my finger hit something. Now I'm going to hit the B. I'm going to click on this layer mask and hit the B key. Now, do you see how this, look over here on your little file. Look at how I have the correct black down here, but you see how it lightens up here. So what I'm going to do is make the brush huge. Okay. Now I'm going to deselect. Now what I want to do is remove some of this black from the top. Okay, well then just paint on the layer mask and look at how I can remove this just like this, and look at how gorgeous that is. Look at how beautiful that is. And that's pretty much it. Now I want to go a little bit further with you. Okay, a little bit further, because look over here how it gets lighter from right here. Just lighter from right here. So let's go to screen number 4. Now I'm going to use something here. Use the same screen number 4. Now look, I'm going to zoom in and turn on the clicky copy. And I want to hit Control H so you see. See how I need to lighten even more on this top right here? Just lighten a little lighter color on the top. Well, that won't be hard if I do it on screen number 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to have to clip all of these just like you clipped your phone number 2 to this. I'm going to have to clip all these. No big deal. But let's now do what I'm saying I'm going to do. So I'm going to paint a light amount of color. So I'm going to hit my brush, hold Alt or Option, and sample that light gray. Make it a little bit lighter, just a little bit lighter. Now follow this. I don't want to paint on the inside. I want to paint on the outside. So what do? You inverse it. Now, let's figure out the feather. Well, it looks like about 4 or 5 pixels. So let's go to Select, Modify, Feather by 5 pixels. Now I'm going to hit Control H. Now all I have to do is use my paintbrush. I'm backing out so you can see what I'm going to do. Okay, now I need to turn off the clicky copy. I need to lighten up that top. Now, do you see how I'm lightening up the top But, and here's the but, I need, let me turn this back on, I need to actually now take that same value and lighten up more of the top. So how do I do that? Well, I can do it on screen number 4 as well. I think I have about the right amount of value right there, maybe a little too light, but I can lessen the opacity of this layer. So I deselect. Now let's see how much I need to lighten up on this. So I'm going to back off. I'm going to show your phone here, and I'm going to grab this color right there. Okay, so I'm alt clicking right there. I'll make it a tiny bit brighter, just a tiny bit brighter. Now, if I turn it off and I make this brush huge, do you see? Let me see something for a second. Okay, I did good. Now I can lighten this whole top area. There. Now that's really beautiful. Now, if I clip everything I did, it won't be messy. So let me deselect, let me save the file, and watch how we make this beautiful. But instead of clipping to everything, you know what I'm going to clip to? I'm going to clip to screen number 1. So please watch. I hold Alt and I clip this one, I clip this one, and I clip this one. And now we have a beautiful rendition of that phone right there. And you have to admit that looks pretty good. Now, do you see the white line that's right there? Well, let's put the white line in right there. This is going to be a little much, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So I am going to make a new layer, and I'm going to call this highlight. Now, it is definitely a light line, but what do we use for it? Well, remember when I made screen number 1? I can make a selection of screen number 1. Now, do you see how it's on the inside of the white line? See that? Let's go to Select, Modify, Expand by 3 pixels. Now I have it where I want it. So I go to Select and Save Selection as Highlight. Now, I know this is hard, and I'll deselect, but I want to show you. If I make a selection by control-clicking on Highlight up here, the one that I expanded, I can go, and I know this is a lot to hear, I can go Control-Alt-Subtract screen 1, which is the inner one. Now, I did. Now let me do it again. Well, first let me show you. See how there's a selection on both sides of the white now? Well, let's see how I did that. I just want to examine it with you. First, I made a selection of this one, which did the black line, right? Which was screen number 1. I went to Select, Modify, Expand, and I expanded it by 3 pixels, which took the selection line to the other side of the white. Then I saved it as Highlight. Now, if I make a selection of Highlight by control-clicking, I can go Control-Alt or Command-Option, click on screen 1 to subtract it. And now if I hit Command or Control-H, I can make sure I'm on that layer, which was the highlight layer, grab a white color, turn off the clicky copy, and please watch how, let me make my brush smaller, please watch how I put a highlight on that edge. So now I think that you need to watch this a couple of times and to get used to the way that, and I'm going to go over it with you again, and I want to do one more thing. So, do you see how I'm starting to really get that phone to look pretty? Okay, now we have, let me turn this off, the clicky copy off. We have another highlight that's on the white metal. There's actually 2 of them. See how it goes light, dark, light? Well, we can actually do that pretty easy. And even if I have to, I'm even going to go highlight number 2. So let me go highlight 2. Now, this won't take me long to draw, but watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw this, paint it hard, and Gaussian blur it. Now look, I already went around that by pulling, let me do that again. If you click and pull in the direction of the curve that you want to go in, the line gets curved. Now I'm going to go all the way up to this side right here, all the way up, right past the buttons, because the buttons are painted last, right? Now I'm going to go here and hold Alt, pull out a new handlebar, and come down on the other side of that highlight. Now, that path didn't take long. Look, I'm going all the way down here and I'm clicking. I'm going to click and pull, click and pull. Look at how I'm doing that. Click and pull. And now I'm just going to hold Alt and round that off. Now I have a work path, which I'm going to call highlight 2. Whoops. Okay, save the file, Brian. Now let me make a selection of it. Brian, are you selected on the correct layer? Yeah. Let's hit the B key, grab this light color. Let's go like this and back off so I can show you how the whole thing goes in. Turn off the clicky copy, hit Control H. Now, watch how I can put that highlight in there. See how that highlight is going in? Now I admit to you that I'm painting it too hard. Let's zoom in and fix it. That's going to mean a couple of things. Now, I turn this off, I deselect, I'm going to take that and Gaussian blur it by 1 or 2 pixels. I don't know which one yet. So let's go to 2, nope, it needs even more. Let's go to 3, nope, even more, 4, nope, even more. That's perfect. Oh my God, I don't even need to do anything. That's perfect. But let me turn this on and you can see that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's pretty. That is really pretty. So do you see how I did another series of highlights on that metal edge? Well, you can do the same thing for this highlight right here. Just draw it out, paint it, Gaussian blur it, and if you have to, remove some on a layer mask. Now I'll show you what I mean. If part of this was too bright, all I would have to do is add a layer mask to it, watch, and paint gently with black at 8% on the layer mask. Now I'll paint it out too far so you can see. Of course, I didn't want to go that far. See what I added to the layer mask? Well, if I hit the X key, watch how I can gently put white back on top of that black and the highlight comes back. Now that's pretty. Now that's what I wanted you to see. Now let me deselect and let's talk about it again. Turn off all the layers. Okay, this is what I wanted. Look at how screen 1, there's your phone, right? Screen 1 goes in and it's a huge piece of black, even though it looks like a small black line, it's not. It's a big piece of black with gray on top of it. With black on top of it that has a layer mask added to remove this section right here. Let me back out. With gray on top of that. So, one more time. You have light gray with black, let me do it again. There's your light gray. You have a black big shape, a gray shape, a black shape, a lighter gray shape, a highlight shape on the edge, another highlight shape right there, and look at how gorgeous. Let me know if that helped. Thank you.